I want to bring in 3 eyewitnesses to these unexplained phenomena. And they're not just any witnesses, but 3 names that we all know very well, people that I know well and trust and are my friends. NewsNation correspondent Rich McHugh happened to be with New Jersey police last night, out doing the job when he spotted the drones. We've got Dr. Katherine Ramsland, forensic psychologist. This woman doesn't lie. She writes the books, by the way. She saw the drones 2 nights in a row. She's known here for taking us inside the mind of serial killers. She saw half a dozen drones in Pennsylvania. I also want to welcome Scott Rouse, our go-to behavioral and body language expert. I know Scott well. He tells the truth. He saw the drones over Tennessee. I mean, look at these 3 have all seen them. What is going on? I want to start with Rich McHugh, though, because, Rich, you were out on the story last night, didn't know what to expect, and take it from there. I mean, what happened?
Off the top, I've been skeptical of this story. As a resident of New Jersey, as a journalist here, I thought it was going to be some sort of yahoos, and we would get a laugh out of this in several weeks. What happened yesterday completely changed my entire view on this story. Earlier in the afternoon, I was out with the Ocean City Sheriff's Department. They have a drone unit. They've investigated these things. What they've saw a bunch over the weekend. We did not see any with them last night. I was coming back home. I got a tip. Monmouth County, they're spotting them in Monmouth County. That's where I live. So I raced up here and I tried to figure out where the picture was that somebody sent me. And sure enough, I saw one. So I trailed it to a neighborhood, a dead-end street, and I got out of my car and I took my phone out with my iPhone, and I couldn't really capture it, but I was staring literally at this drone 200 feet above me, maybe. I called our photographer, Nick, and I said, get up here as soon as you possibly can, meet me at this location, etc. I tracked a few more to the location where we are right now, over a body of water behind us. And I gotta say, Brian, over the next 2 hours, we saw dozens and dozens of these things, and they look like nothing you've ever seen before. I'm not even sure I'm right in calling them a drone. You know, they looked like they were fixed wing aircraft. They had multiple, blinking lights. They did not look anything like a plane, because there's plenty of planes flying overhead. Like tonight, they're not here. We're seeing just planes. Last night was totally different. They look creepy, and they move at a different pace. We tried to even follow a couple. They went off in the distance and disappeared. It's completely rewired my brain on this topic, and I'm a believer, and we need answers. And we don't have answers, and we need someone to step up and say, here is what's going on. Because otherwise, we're heading down this path in New Jersey and these states where people are just going to take this into their own hands.
Yeah, and I'm looking at your video right now. We have it in the middle of the screen. I know it's tough at night when you're using your iPhone and it's pitch black. You said you were near the water, but so it's kind of hard to see. But, we've heard these reports from people, but hearing it from you, Rich, as our investigative reporter, knowing the kind of work you do, it is kind of freaky to hear you say that that you couldn't identify it. Describe it a little more. I mean, how big, and when I think of a drone, you think of like it's got the 4. It's almost like a little helicopter with the 4 rotors. Are these not? Do these look different than that?
They look different. They almost look like a U-shaped or a V-shaped. They didn't make a sound. It was, a couple hundred feet above us. You just didn't know what you were looking at. It was moving across the sky very quietly, and we kept saying to each other, Nick and I, what are we looking at? Are you getting the shot, and what the heck are we filming? There's a couple shots you can see where you can see that it's fixed wing, and it doesn't look like a plane. It almost looks like inverted. It sounds crazy as I say this now, Brian, that's what you're seeing on the screen. That's what we were seeing right above our heads, and it happened till about 11:30 at night, and then it started to die off, and I was like, we can stay out here all night, but I went to bed. This is my community. I've never seen these things in the sky over my community before. I went to bed thinking this is wild. These things are flying over our homes, over our residences. There's a military Earl, which is a munitions depot, just about a mile and a half behind me. they've reported sightings of these things above, and they said they're ready to take action if they need to. This is, for naysayers out there, like, this is real.
So how many did you see at once, Rich? Was it just the one, or?
Well, no, I think we would see a couple at a time in various parts of the sky over this water. And we'd be like, oh, we didn't get this shot on that one. And they'd be like, well, wait, we'll just wait. You know, I'm sure there'll be another one. And sure enough, like, one started creeping towards us. And it's like, it felt like I was in a bad sci-fi movie, like that it was just, that I was placed in, but it involved my actual hometown. It was very, very surreal.
I mean, to hear you saying this, again, it just sort of hits me in a different way coming from you. Wow. I want to go to Dr. Ramsland now. Dr. Ramsland lives in Pennsylvania. If you ever told me that I would be asking Dr. Ramsland about drones flying near her home, and we usually talk to her about killers, I wasn't expecting this, but they said, Dr. Ramsland's seeing the drones. What did you see?
A similar experience tonight, actually. It started last night. We were hearing about them in New Jersey, and suddenly, and we're in eastern Pennsylvania. It's as if they migrated over. I called a couple of friends, and we were texting each other as we were all of us seeing them in different areas. And the one tonight, I saw one going west. It was red blinking lights like this one. Another one was coming toward it from the west going east. And then the westward one suddenly turned around and went into formation with the one going east, turned green, the lights turned green, and then yellow. And it looked very much like what we're seeing here in these pictures.
Have you ever seen anything like it, Dr. Ramsland, and are you sure it wasn't a plane?
It couldn't possibly be a plane. It was flying low. It was within half a mile of me. There's no plane path at that point, and it didn't act like a plane. A plane can't turn that fast, and it also had oddly spiral kinds of movements that you just don't see with a plane.
And so it was
and
last
there was no
night.
noise. Again, no noise. Yeah,
No
exactly.
noise. So last night and again tonight?
Yes.
Same look of drone? I mean, did it look the same?
I could see them more clearly tonight, and I think it's because it is a very clear night. I saw them really distinctly, and there were more of them tonight, according to my two friends again got out, and we all could see more tonight.
Wow. Okay, so Dr. Ramsland is in Pennsylvania, Rich is in New Jersey. Scott, you are in Tennessee, so you're in a different area where we haven't heard as much about this. Tell us about your sighting.
Yeah, mine's different than your all's. Mine's a lot different. Mine don't look like what you're showing there at all. These things are round. The ones that I saw were round. And they've got this ring around them. And around the ring, it's got little lights on it, and the light is spinning. And on the video that I sent you guys, you can see that at first before I zoom in on it. Because when I zoom in, it gets all blurry, and it looks like it's changing shapes, but it really isn't. But if you look really closely, you'll see how there's a thing spinning around it. And so I don't know mine didn't look like a plane at all. And I saw like 30 of them all together. Yeah, that thing right there was the first one. I believe that was the first one. And when it scooches in, you can sort of see that? You can sort of see there's something spinning around it.
Yep.
But it's hooked to it. It's like a ring.
It's so hard at night to video these things. I mean, that's the thing. It's like no matter, it looks so distinctive in person. And then you look at the video, even with our new iPhones, it's just, you can't really capture it. But are you sure it wasn't a plane, Scott? Because sometimes it's hard to tell.
Positive. I think all three of your guests tonight, we're all professional observers. And that's one of the things that we check out. What does it sound like? What does it look like? What is it doing? What does it sound like? And that had no sound at all. And at one point there were five after I saw this one, and there were three up in the by themselves, and there were two ahead of it that came past those, and then as they went on, the other three started following that one. Then they split up, and then I got video of where there's one there in different sections of the front yard and the backyard. You could see them through the trees, but these were completely different than what you guys were seeing. These are completely different.
So, Rich, you've been reporting on this for a couple of days. What do you make of the Homeland Security response that essentially The people are misidentifying these objects, that most of the time it's planes. And the secretary, Homeland Security Secretary, was actually on TV tonight saying, they keep saying there's no threat to the public. I mean, you've seen them for yourself. You don't seem satisfied with that response.
All due respect, Brian, to the security advisor, it's tone deaf, it's insulting. I know a bunch of state legislatures and sheriffs here in New Jersey who would be happy to talk to him. The Ocean County Sheriff told me a story yesterday that over the weekend there was one of his officers was on the beach, called 911, reported seeing 50 drones come off the ocean inland. They called everybody, the FBI, the Coast Guard, whatever. The Coast Guard went out to investigate, told them they had 13 drones following them in. This is documented stuff. This isn't just like, Bill down the street is calling this in and nobody's verifying these things. These are real people, like police officers. This is happening. So they need to get, they should be scrambling something up here, figure it out. I'm surprised they haven't put a plane up just to say, here's what we've done. But to see no response, no federal response is truly upsetting. And the longer this goes on, as I mentioned before, somebody's just going to take matters into their own hands and just, now that Trump is saying what he's saying, they're just going to do it. They're going to take a rifle and shoot one of these things.
Yeah, and I mean, look, with video and phones and social media, you can't just say, oh, nothing to see here anymore. The government can't really get away with that anymore. I mean, clearly everybody's seeing it. I'm just curious, Rich, I'm looking at your video again. It's such good video you got, but you can see the blinking on it almost looks like wings, almost like a plane would, which makes me think, do you think, based on what you saw, these are some kind of military drone, some kind of technology that, because, with UFOs that we've covered, this looks like man-made, maybe, I could say, from what I'm seeing, although it's blurry. I mean, is that the sense that you got?
I hope so, Brian. That thought went through my mind, and there is some sort of hope in my brain that this is a secret military operation that at a base near here, and they're calling it red teaming, where they're coming out to test for lapses in our security and where we would be at fault. I hope that that's the solution, or that's what we find out in a week or 2 weeks. If we don't find that out, if it's not our military, it's worse. It's a scary scenario if it's not our military.
Right, if it's something from another country. What do you think, Dr. Ramsland? I mean, you've covered everything in them, from the vampires to the killers, and I mean, I'm just curious what goes through your mind when you were looking up even tonight. Do you think it's a military exercise? What's your gut telling you?
I'm frustrated with the government response, because you can't say we don't know what it is and also say it's not a threat.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know what it is, you don't know that. And who knows if it's a future threat? They might be gathering intel that will come back on us eventually. And it could be a matter of national security. Why can't they act on that alone? That's potentially, it is a threat. And just rope one of those things in, take a net up there in a helicopter or something. They're not that far away from us. They're not way up in the sky. They can fly pretty low quite often.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.